Hola, ¿cómo están? Hoy vamos a aprender una estrategia para escribir y hablar mejor, para crear párrafos que son elocuentes y que van al grano. Today we are going to learn a strategy, a speaking strategy, and also you can utilize it when you are writing paragraphs. The purpose of it is for you to have a more elaborated way to create paragraphs, to express your ideas. So what are you going to do? First of all, you have this in your Google Classroom, okay? So you have it here under class materials at the bottom, and it calls RBAFED. RBAFED, Word Language, Verbal, and Writing Strategy. Okay, so you will click on this one first, and you will click on this one first to get to it. So here, like I said before, this is word language verbal and a writing response technique. So from here on, if you have to answer any questions like the essential questions, most of the time you will do it in this format. It's called RBAFED format. But what is RBAFED? What does it stand for? And that's what I'm going to tell you today. Okay, so pay attention. So R stands for restate. So when you restate, you use some of the words from the question, okay, or the statement that is given to you to begin your response, to begin answering. So that's what restates. So in other words, you use the question, the words from it, and begin your answer, okay? You don't write it word by word. You don't write the question, you eliminate the question word, but you use some of the other words from that sentence, okay? That's what restate means. All right, the next one, B. B stands for because. And you use because to explain the reason you're answering. Using in Spanish, you will use por qué. Notice that por qué in Spanish, the por is together with the que. Por qué. Now, if you have it separate like this, with an accent on the E, would mean why. But because it's together, por qué means because. So it makes sense, right? You answering first by using some of the words from the question. Then you state because to explain the reason why you answering it. And obviously the next step is the A, which is answer. Provide the answer to the question in a complete sentence. Now, the answer doesn't have to be too elaborate, does not have to be too extensive. Just a little sentence that explains the reason why. Then you get to the real important part of this this format, this strategy. You get to, for example. For example is the basic transitional phrase that you could use. This allows you to expand and elaborate your answer. It gives you a breather, okay? It's like the middle of the road. In other words, allows you to elaborate, to expand. That's what for example is, okay? And then the D stands for details. In the details, what you do, you're going to provide specific examples. One is more than enough at this level. So that illustrates, in other words, that paints the picture, provides a vivid picture, and supports your answer, okay? So here is where you actually try to close your eyes and say, okay, what example can I give about my answer? And this is the part what is very difficult. Everyone can do this, can restate. Anyone can provide an answer and state the reason why. But very few people can actually back their answers by providing examples. When you have to write a paragraph with any style, you have to provide cites. You have to give credit to the sources of information that you're getting it from. So these are the details. Those are the specific things that help you back up your point. Okay, so let's put this together in a sentence. Okay, so you're going to have a question. First of all, a question could be something as simple as this: what is your favorite color? That is a very simple question, right? A lot of people will say red, black, blue, one word, right? But that's not what we want. What we want is to, first of all, restate. Use the question to begin your answer. My favorite color is, and what's next? The answer, red. Now, I forgot to tell you, the answer and because, they usually come together. Sometimes you answer it first and then you state the reason why, okay, and vice versa. Like is the case here. My favorite color is red because, notice how it goes, because, and then you explain why is it red. Red makes me feel happy. Notice it's so generic, it doesn't have any specifics. What is happy? Some people, happy is a difference, very subjective, right? So here is not elaborate, not specific. The answer can just be a simple sentence. What's your favorite color? My favorite color is red because red makes me feel happy. Now, the next part is what's important. The for example, like I said, the for example in Spanish is por ejemplo. Por ejemplo, okay? Very similar, look. Por ejemplo. What do you notice there? Por ejemplo. For is por. Ejemplo, example. They both come from the Latin, these words. Por ejemplo. The letter J in Spanish sounds like the letter H in English. You don't say ejemplo, you say ejemplo. And then it's followed by a comma. Why? Because it's a transitional phrase that allows you to provide the next part of your paragraph, of your explanation. So it goes, for example, I am wearing a red shirt today and I feel energetic, which puts a big smile in my face. So here you can actually see the shirt when you read this. I am wearing a red shirt today and I feel energetic, and you link it to something specific, right? Which puts a big smile in my face. So that backs up why you're happy. For example, it says, what is your favorite color then? My favorite color is red because red makes me feel happy. For example, I'm wearing a red shirt today and I feel energetic, which puts a big smile in my face. So that is the format. This right here is the hardest part to do. Why? Because you actually have to think. You have to think about what example you're going to provide. It has to be specific and it has to be linked to your answer, right? Red makes me feel happy. So, and that is RBAFED. Again, R stands for restate, B, because, A, answer, for example, por ejemplo, and then you provide the detail, the hardest part of it, okay? Now, when you go to an interview in any fields, you know, they might ask you questions such as, so, what do you want to work here? Or why should I hire you? Well, the better your answer it is, the better chances you have to be hired in that place. I highly recommend you to use this format, right? Because it doesn't leave anything out. It's concise, it's to the point, and very, very scientifically based. Why do I say scientifically based? Well, if you think about a scientific method, okay, first you have to state what the problem is, restate. Then you have to explain what the reason, why do you think that? In other words, you have to have your thesis, right? And then after that, you have to prove it and you have to back it up. You have to prove it with specific examples, right? So a lot of people do this, okay? Doctors use it, lawyers use it. Every professional person needs to use this because they have to be objective. So we'll talk more about that in class. Now, based on the reading response that you just learned, RBAFED, can you answer this question? How important is it? Let's change that, okay? How important is it to be able to understand and speak Spanish in your community? Okay, How important is it to be able to understand and speak Spanish in your community? So what would be the first part? Restate. How do you restate? You use some of the words from the question. Look, obviously, you are not going to put in the how. You're going to eliminate that, right? Do you think, first of all, is it important to understand and speak Spanish in your community? You can say yes or you can say no. But after you say yes or no, remember that you have to explain the reason why. You have to provide a specific example that gives you a detail that supports your answer. So let's do this together. Okay, so here we go. It is, I think it is important. That's my opinion. You could think that is not, and that's fine too. It is important to be able to understand and speak Spanish in my community. I'm going to change that to my instead of your, right? Because you're answering that question. In my community, what's the next step? Because, right? Because there is a large population of Hispanic living in the community. Period. What's next? Okay, first of all, you do have your answer here. It is important to be able to understand and speak Spanish in my community. That's restating. Then you have the because, right? How do you say because in Spanish? ¿Por qué? Right. Porque because there is a large population of Hispanics in the community, living in the community. What's the next step? The transitional phrase. The transitional phrase allows you to expand. What is that? The basic transitional phrase will be, for example. For example, it's not a period, but a comma. When you have a comma there, it's like a breather. It's like, wait a minute, picture this, right? So that is what you have to do. For example, and then you provide the specific detail that supports your answer. Okay, what can support? What can I say about my answer? What was my answer? There's a large population of Hispanics living in my community. For example, I can speak, I can understand my classmates who speak Spanish when they talk. I can who speak Spanish when they talk. So notice here, your answer is actually specific because it shows a specific situation when you have to use the language, when you have to understand. Maybe not speak it, but at least understand it. The question is it important? How important it is to understand and speak Spanish? And you could say this, or you can say so many other things, right? But the main thing here is for you to use this format, RBAFED. Okay. Now, after reading this and understanding this, you are going to go to the same place, okay, right here under your materials. It says RBAFED short story. We're going to read this short story together. And then after reading it, there are some questions that I would like you to answer. Now, these questions must be answered in RBAFED format. And what I would like you to do is to open it with Google Docs, okay, and send them to me, okay? That's easy to do. Kind of like what we did with essential questions, right? This will give you 30 points, 10 points